So this is episode 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't even do it.
The purple episode.
So yes, episode 4. So what are we talking about in this episode?
We're going to talk about data and the power of
Data.
insight and how significant that's becoming for artists over the next few years, and how it's going to revolutionize the way artists think about spending their money on touring and shows and promotion and management. So yeah.
So I think, it's a really interesting topic, and I think as an artist, maybe you don't really think about that. You might think about all the other things like getting the music made, mastered, put out there, thinking about PR and all those sorts of things. But what about data? First of all, I guess the big question is, what is data?
Music data. Well, music data can come in many forms. There's the surface level stuff, which we see, like streams, likes, shares, comments, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But then there's the behind.
So when you think data,
stuff.
You think like analytics, like you think graphs and numbers, and what if you are just an artist that just doesn't understand it?
Well, take it simply to begin with. I mean, like I say, the first metrics are the ones we all know and we'd see, and everyone
what are
chases.
They? You say they're the ones we all know.
Follows, streams.
Okay, so that's considered data.
Yeah, so it's data. It's a number point. It's the data point, right?
Yeah.
So behind that is other data, which you probably don't see a lot of the time, which the platforms have access to. So, for example, is a stream on Spotify a passive listener or an active listener? Mm-hmm. It could be that the stream you just had was from an absolute hardcore fan who was about to listen to your music another 1,000 times that year, was about to buy your merch and go to see your shows and go interact with you. Or it could be a listen in a coffee shop and no one really knows who you are.
Yeah, so it's like a lean back listen.
Yeah.
Like you just happen to have come on and they're like, oh, cool, yeah.
So that data, which we're not privy to a lot of the time, is held by the likes of Spotify, Apple Music.
Now, Spotify, you have a track and let's say you're lucky enough to get 100,000 plays. They don't tell you how many of those 100,000 people played it like 10 times or anything. They didn't give you that information, do they?
Not yet. We're expecting this to happen pretty soon. And I think there are some companies who are setting up APIs with Spotify and Apple Music and the likes to produce this insights and these analytics that will give artists an idea of who their fans are and where they're listening, for example.
Yeah, because obviously when you go into Spotify for artists behind the scenes, I hope everyone uses this tool because it's really interesting, isn't it? It tells you which cities and countries that your fans are listening from. Yeah. Right, and that's really interesting. Why is that interesting? What do you do with that data?
So, I think the next level, obviously, is using those insights. If you are an artist, go ahead and use it, because that's the next level, like I was saying. The level after that is knowing in those cities who are repeat listeners, for example.
Yeah, because then that suggests they're becoming a fan,
right? They're becoming more of a fan. So
because anyone that's going to listen to a track more than 3 times must like the track.
Yeah,
right?
So they're becoming a fan. They're probably liking and sharing, and it'd be good to know who those, out of those, say, 91 listeners in Berlin, are 10 of them like listening to it repeatedly and then liking and sharing and all the rest of it, or are all 90 of them, so 91 of them. So it's understanding that even deeper level of data that will give artists the insights and know where to then spend their money on, whether it's touring, promotion, or anything like that. So that's going to really help you not waste resources as well.
Yeah.
So for example, if you just look at listeners, I've got 10,000 monthly listeners, right? You could say, well, I might want to do a tour around Europe.
Yeah.
But you might not know where in Europe are most of those listeners based. So if they're mainly based in, say, Germany, maybe you want to tour in Germany. Don't waste all your resources touring the whole of Europe. Yeah. But focus on where you're more likely to build that first level of fan growth. Yeah. And utilizing that data.
And so that's Spotify. What are the other platforms? Where are the other levels of data that you can extract from, say, Instagram or YouTube, or what other insights can I get as an artist? Because it's not just Spotify, is it?
I think you should see Instagram and TikTok and those kind of platforms as ways to build your community. So if you're looking at it from community point of view, engaging, interacting, commenting back on the comments, particularly those who comment, right? And those are the people who you want to reply to. Start conversations. It's all about conversations, I think, and nurturing that community through that two-way dialogue, and really utilize those platforms for that purpose. Tell them about your shows through the comments.
Yeah, so we've got obviously the key platforms we all use are obviously TikTok, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, all the streaming sites obviously. Then you've got your Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud. Obviously SoundCloud is growing, Bandcamp, that kind of thing. So let's say, for example, you put your track out and you're mysteriously getting a spike of plays in some random city in India. What do you do with that data? You've got that information. Where do you go with that? Does that help you form your marketing, promotional efforts thereafter? What would you do with that?
Well, the next step is maybe create some great content that could appeal to that audience in that area, and advertise there. Focus your Facebook, IG, TikTok ads in that particular location, and try and amplify that interest that you're already getting over there. And then after that, if you get more traction, then think about going out there to do some shows. Build up some buzz. And then eventually a community, and that will then in turn give you more opportunity for more content, which you can then distribute into other areas and so on, and carry on growing.
I guess what we're trying to do here, we're sort of avoiding that mass marketing approach of shooting in the dark, right? Because only a few years ago, we didn't really know where our fans were, did we? We kind of put the music out and we got a vague idea of where it was being listened to globally. But now, so for example, if you do say, I don't know, there's some random town in Germany where you happen to suddenly see a spike of plays, it's probably a good time to think about connecting with the local radio shows in that town or city, going, you know what, my band that I manage or the band that I'm in has just had like 5,000 plays in Hamburg over the course of the last week. You might want to then ring up or get in contact with all the Hamburg-based radio stations in that area, right? Or even like small showcase promoters or whatever. If you're starting out and you're small, I mean, you could even level it up and start like connecting with collaborators in that area, brands in that area as well, and say, look, I'm pretty hot property right now in this area. You can take it as far as you want, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And even things like Shazam, for example, that's a great way to
Shazam is interesting. Tell me about Shazam, because that is like...
So what's interesting about Shazam is that you've got passive listening in say a venue for the most part. But someone goes, oh, I love this, what's this? Gets the phone out, finds out who it is. They've gone from passive listener to an active listener. So they're now a fan. They know about you, who you are. They're actually interested.
Yeah, and the great thing about Shazam is it just captures everything, doesn't it? And it tells you who the artist is, what the song's called, how to... Yeah. Shazam stats can be also super valuable. So maybe you've had a spike of Shazam stats in a certain city, and out of all the cities in the world, that's the one you might want to focus your gig efforts on. That's a great idea.
And your content and PR as well, like you say. Content in local radio, blogs. Maybe looking at meeting local influencers, getting them to share content, getting them to free tickets to your show.
So would you say it could determine the direction of your next release? So say, for example, you saw that you had a lot of Shazam alerts coming from an American city or something, or a small town in South America. So what would you do with that? How would you then steer your marketing efforts based on that data?
I mean, building a community, again, it comes back to that. That's the end goal. So if you've managed to foster a great fan base in that area, you will then be able to produce content that will invite other fans, and it'll grow that way. Yeah. Instead of spreading yourself thin. Yeah. It's working smarter instead of harder, basically. Yeah. I mean, it is hard enough as an artist, and especially when you're small, you don't have the resources. Yeah. You're going to need more and more data to compensate for the fact that you don't have the resources to spread yourself thin. Yeah, that's true. So you need to work even smarter. Yeah, but that's also with touring. Look, I used to manage quite a few bands, and we've all put on shows. We've all created tour schedules where they've played in like
arse end of nowhere towns where there's like 2 people in the room. It's just wasted efforts, isn't it?
Yeah.
So as a touring manager or an artist manager, you can then curate a show or a tour that is specifically based on their data. You can be like, look, we're doing a show in Czech Republic because you've actually got an even spread of fans across many towns and cities. You know, so you can go back to your band or your label and say, look, or your booking agent and say, look, we want you to focus on these areas for us. Yeah. We don't need to go touring somewhere else, you know.
Yeah, and I think we're gradually migrating away from from vanity metrics. I think artists are becoming smarter and utilizing the data better. And knowing
what's a vanity metric? What would you define
the classic vanity metrics, things like stream count, monthly listeners, Facebook, TikTok followers, Instagram followers. So it's top line numbers. And it's like the headline of the Sun or something. It's there to try and catch people's eye. But if you look deeper, you can then find out, well, how many of these followers or streams are actually engaging? And that's the difference. Because if, for instance, I've got 100,000 monthly listeners and all of them are passive listening, they listen to gyms, coffee shops, that there's not really an place they're interacting with the music, then the best I'm going to get is the money I get from Spotify and all the other platforms.
Yeah.
If, on the other hand, they are active listeners, and you've got 100,000 of them, and that's people who are listening to your music and liking, sharing, etc., then that's a whole different world.
Yeah, that's
You're
so true.
Suddenly a very attractive artist for labels. You're suddenly very interesting for like other investment and that kind of thing. So you can really build on that, because those fans could then create income for you and enable you to go on tour and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So 100,000 monthly listeners isn't the same for everyone. I think once we start to uncover what the data is, then then artists can really leverage that.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
They say data is like the new oil, isn't it? Like it's so valuable. That's Zuckerberg, not our phrase, obviously. So so say for example, you know that you have 50 fans in Brighton, and you're a Scottish band. What do you do with that? So you've got these 50 fans. How do you engage with them? So you've done the show, you've come to Brighton, you've done Green Door, you know, those 50 fans have all rocked up, they've bought the t-shirt. How do you carry on communicating with these guys? Like, so they don't just, you know, because you might be an artist that's pretty bad and puts out a track, maybe 2 tracks a year. But how do you keep it going?
Well, you super fans are the people you talk to at the bar at the end of the show and that kind of thing, and the ones that are stood there in line buying the merch. I would involve them in the creative process. I mean, that's an opportunity.
Creative process, as in you'll help maybe get them to write the track with you.
Throw some lyrics at us. Throw some ideas. Look, it doesn't have to go ahead, but you're involving them.
Or you could get them to help you art design the t-shirt or the sleeve of the next single.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about writing a song, but...
Well, I mean, it could work. I've seen a few videos, I think, it was Jacob Collier. He had this thing where he was inviting people on and they were offering him lyrics, and he sort of cut and paste a few things together in his really clever way, and suddenly it was like, wow, he's come up with a track out of it.
Oh, wow. That's like the ultimate fan engagement, isn't it? Fan artist engagement, having that really intimate relationship where you can actually kind of cross over and start involving them in the art process. That's that's really special.
Taylor Swift has got a few examples where she sent them cards and stuff. But there's another thing, you can send them playlists but that, for you, it might feel like, there's a lot of effort just for one. But the fact that you do it with like 2 or 3 people is enough of a message to your other fans that you actually care. Yeah. So you're signaling as well. Yeah. And I think that means a lot, especially to the fans, because you separates you from just vanity metrics.
Taylor Swift, I think she calls her superfans her Swifties. And then obviously you've got Lady Gaga as well. She calls them her little monsters or something. So just by calling them that, they're like, oh my God, I'm in this community.
Yeah, it's part of a tribe.
You know, I'm part of a tribe. It's exciting. So that's really interesting, actually, creating your own community. Even if you have 10 in that community. You've got 10, like you've got 10 more than you did
and you
before.
see it a lot on, you know, #army or whatever the band name is.
Yeah, and that's quite good then. It's almost like, would you say it's good to start to carve out that kind of name and that identity and that vibe?
Yeah, and even create the hashtag around it so it's like a tag and identity that you use to signal to each other that you're part of this tribe as well. Yeah, because people want to feel included. Yeah, and I think that inclusivity is really how to build it. Yeah,
and what sort of tech, which sort of platforms can you use to support you with? I know is it Chartmetrics? That's a really good platform for kind of data. Is there any others?
Well, there is data, obviously, like we mentioned Spotify for artists, but it's use that to your full ability, and also look on your socials, like who's commenting and sharing, and build up a list of those people and start to collate them all together.
Is there anything out there at the moment, like app-wise, where...
Well, you know, there might be soon. But yeah, I mean...
This isn't a sales pitch, by the way. No, I mean, it would be amazing if you were able to kind of figure out who your fans were on your social media, who are the ones that are commenting more, liking more. That would be amazing info.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So a big part of this subject and this topic has been all about fan engagement, data, utilising data to connect with the fan more. Yeah.
One last story to wrap that up, though. You know an example of an artist.
There was an artist that I won't say name just in case I've got the topic, all of it wrong. But Brighton-based artist who is pretty massive. He is renowned for playing in the streets of Brighton, put out some amazing tracks and videos this year. And he had a medical condition where he wanted crowdfunding for, because it was really expensive, that the treatment he needed was stem cell, I think, somewhere in the world. And fans were like literally falling over themselves to support him financially. And I thought, wow, that's amazing, isn't it? And that's the level of... connection
and
loyalty we've developed now. It's come so far. You know, social media has enabled that and amplified that, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just about, you know, like getting them to buy the t-shirts. I've heard of like people announcing like world tours and saying, look, I just can't financially afford it, and I don't have anywhere to put up the band, and like people going, you can come and stay. I mean, we did that, didn't we?
Yeah.
We had we used to live in a tiny flat on top of a hill in Brighton, and I think there was one great escape where we had like 3 bands stay in our 2-bed flat.
One from Israel, another from Turkey, another from
and a Brighton-based band as well.
Brighton-based,
So it was hilarious. Like how we got everyone in that flat but it was because I really wanted the band to come and play. One of them was called the Away Days, Turkish band, which I absolutely love. And then the Garden City Movement was the other one from Israel. And I really wanted them to both come and play. And they were like, we'd love to, but we just can't afford to come and stay in Brighton, basically. And I was like, come and stay at ours. And that's happening more and more, isn't it? That I think there's that beautiful community.
Yeah.
And we're breaking down the barriers. It's not just a one-way.
Yeah, it's not just a one-way thing anymore. It's two-way. And
two-way conversation.
Like the fans are just as much as part of it as you have ever been.
Yeah. We have a really good friend, actually. Shouts to Maddox Jones. He is like a connector with his fan. His two-way conversation with his fans is immense, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like having them in the living room with him. You know, he's very direct and just talk. It's like talking to a mate, and I think that's how it should be. Yeah. Especially with live streams and chat and just that, it just offers you that direct engagement that's you shouldn't miss out on as an artist, even if you've got only 10 fans. It's just
so what would you recommend then? So let's say, for example, you go and do a live on TikTok. Well, you know, we'll start talking about TikTok because it is one of the biggest social media. It is the biggest social media platform globally. And you've gone on your TikTok and you've got 10 people watching. What do you do? Like, do you start talking to? Obviously, they can't talk back.
Just get straight on chat, and then you know you're commenting back. They're reciprocating. And it's cool. It's like for as long as it goes, the conversation goes, keep it going. When you're done, come back to it later. But I think you can involve them in your journey as an artist, whether you're in the studio or whether you're about to meet a manager, or whether you're about to get signed, or about to go on stage. These are all great moments to involve your fans on a live stream. Yeah,
you can even say to them, "Hi guys, like I'm currently about to go and get a burger in, I don't know, in East London on Brick Lane.
What burger do you think I should get?
Yeah, what burger do you think I should get? And they'll be like, oh, get, you know, make it a double cheeseburger. Oh, actually, I'm in the area. Can I come and meet you for coffee as well, or burger too? Yeah, come join.
Yeah, get chat up and then be like, look, I got these 5 different demos. Which ones do you like? I'm going to play them now. Yeah. Runs through the demos.
Love that.
And you've got that instant feedback.
Yeah.
As to who and what to put out as well.
That's so cool.
You know, they're your testers and your inner circle. So I think it can be used in so many ways, and a lot of these things are overlooked with artists because we're often set in the old way of doing things.
Yeah.
And things have changed, and I think it's a great time really to build community, not to take over the world, but to just build enough of a community that you can become independent.
Yeah.
Key thing here is independence. I think that's the main takeaway.
Independence. Yeah, that's it. I mean, you know, once upon a time, everyone thought they needed a major label and a major deal, but as we know, that is just not necessary anymore, right?
Yeah.
Major labels are just giving you a very expensive loan. It's like taking out a credit card where the APR is like 650%, and you've not read that bottom line small print bit. But
there's no need to feel that vulnerable as an artist, because we talked about data insights. If you have good data insights, you have good team, you have vision, you can get by on very little.
Yeah.
You know, just focus on being able to pay the rent somehow. We're in a world where we can work smarter and not have to rely on big amounts of resources to get it off the ground.
That's it. An artist that I'm really close to, based in LA, she was over recently. She actually sometimes gives shout outs to get producers to come and look. She'll be making shout outs like, who wants to kind of produce this, and then people just jump in and go, I'm up for it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's great. It's a great time. Let's talk more about TikTok, because you were saying that there was an artist you saw recently on TikTok that actually, what did they do? You're talking about...
They found a really interesting way to present music, and I think the old way was, hey guys, new track out October 5th, please download. I think we're still caught in that mindset of but music discovery's changed so much now that we really don't need to do that anymore, and it doesn't. It's a bit tired. It doesn't really work as well as it used to. Now I'm finding things like artists who are blowing up on TikTok are actually entertaining their audience into the song. So coming up with a little sketch or something to pull them into wanting to hear the song.
Yeah.
There was one example where a guy he had like a rap beat, and it had a flute sample on it. And he was putting it together in real time. And what he did is he got like a vegetable, like carrot or something, pretend to play the flute. You could hear the sample. Then he did a sort of bang on the wall for the drums. And suddenly the track just explodes. And, you know, you're like, oh, that's cool. That's quite quirky. Yeah. And I suddenly want to hear this. I'm vibing with the song. And so I thought that was interesting. And it was pulling people into the song in a different way instead of just making an announcement. So you know, and another example was he had a globe, did a spin of the globe.
Oh yeah, the collaborator one.
Yeah, I'm going to collaborate with anyone in this country.
Yeah.
Ping stopped on a certain country. Yeah. And I think it was Zanzibar or somewhere. And so he reached out to an artist there. Next minute they put a beat together and he released the track, and it was like...
That's a really good idea. So if you're an artist and you're like, oh, I like this song, but I feel like, I mean, you've done this before, haven't you? You've collaborated with someone completely random that you never knew. You just found them. Yeah. So if you're in, you know, say you're stuck, you're in your room, you're kind of, you know, producing this track or whatever, and you're like, oh, it's missing something. It needs a female voice or a male voice or a rapper or a bit of synth. Like, you can literally trawl TikTok, find somebody, and then just get in touch and say, look, I've just put this beat down. I think your voice would be perfect for it. Like, you know, I think there is so much opportunity at the moment. To be an artist is probably the most exciting time ever. Yeah, okay, there's about 100,000 uploads or releases a day. Is that up?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. But never has it been more exciting. We've got, you know, access to so many kind of plugins and sort of online sounds and samples and, you know, sample-free music and beats, whatever. It's amazing. People... you're able to connect, like you can almost feel like you're sat in the same in the same space as your fan to be. You're gaining fans from random pockets of the world that you never even knew that you had. A lot of people that listen to this show, our podcast or whatever, vidcasts are artists, what's the one thing they can do to just get going, you know, on this sort of like, you know, there's so much opportunity out there.
Yeah. Well, take things simple and step by step to begin with, and use the tools to their maximum resource. I think having limitation is an opportunity for being creative as well.
Yeah.
So let's say if you've only got a guitar and a phone, right? Okay, I'm not a producer. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
How far can you take that guitar? You know, what kind of sounds can you get out of the guitar? Can you write lyrics and create songs? Can you then just maybe do a voice note of them on your phone, send them to the producer and say, hey, you vibing with this? Maybe you could send them 5 or 6 and send them to maybe 10 different producers, see what they say. Yeah. They then ping you back ideas because they have the instruments, they have the hardware. Yeah. And now suddenly you've got a song being built and you're not even in the same room.
That's crazy.
And I think that's a great way to start. And then from there you can go, okay, well, let's get people on live stream. Maybe I've only got 10 people on live stream, but let me play them these new demos I've created with the producers, see which ones they like. Yeah. And then see if they have any suggestions as well as to what to then release. Yeah. So I think, it's a great way to start, just using the basic tools that you've got.
I'm sure there are thousands of hits sat on people's desktops right now, like that will never ever see the light of day. Okay, I know quite a few people with that problem. Like, how do you get over that? Like, you know, like that fear? Because like, I know for a fact that many people have it. They're like, oh, what if my fans don't like it? What if they don't like it? Like, how do you get over that? Just making music for fun?
Yeah. Well, perfection is the enemy of fun, I think.
It is.
And actually progress. Perfection is the enemy of progress, because I think that actually there was an interesting study done. They had 2 groups. Each group was given a task to go out and find the most amazing photograph that they could produce. And one was a quantity group, another was a quality group. Yeah. The quality group was focused on just getting the best possible photograph they could take and using strategy and creative thinking and brainstorming and all the rest of it. Yeah. So they only took a few photos. Then the next one, the other group, was quantity. They literally went out everywhere and just shot everything they possibly could. Yeah. Came back, results came out, and it turns out the quality group could only produce mediocre photographs.
Oh my God.
The quantity group produced the most amazing stuff out of all
you mean as the quantity got, like,
so
more
maybe,
came in, not the earlier
maybe
stuff.
2 out of 100 of the photographs were just absolutely amazing.
Right.
So quantity over quality.
The quality group best ones look average.
Yeah.
Right.
So
wow.
Quantity over quality, but quantity leading to quality. So it's like, I think it's the same conundrum with an artist. They've only got 5 or 6 songs. It's like, well, I've got to get one of these out, but you've only written 5 or 6. Yeah. What about the other 100? You know, there's hits to be written in those 100, and not getting precious, but just putting out and getting it out there. Yeah. Because there's other people who can perfect it for you. Yeah.
That's so true. So it's kind of like, have fun making your music. Try not to take it too seriously. What happens if you get to that point where you start to compare yourself against maybe some of your friends or successful friends or peers, or like, and just, you get kind of like really clammed up and you don't want to put your music out? How do you get over that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the comparisonitis problem, isn't it? Yeah. We're all under that, and that's dangerous as well.
Because we all think
you can lose track of your why, why you're doing this. And you probably didn't set out to make music just to get into a comparison war with your friends. Yeah. You made music because you kind of liked doing it and you thought it was a cool thing to do, or you saw, you know, your idols.
Why do people get into music?
I mean, they get into it for a lot of reasons, right?
What's the main reason?
Self-expression, wanting to be like their idols, being inspired.
Writing about what's going on in their head.
Freedom. Expression. So I think, if you get caught in the keeping up with the Joneses, then you're headed for trouble, because you're going to lose your sense of why, and you won't love it. I mean, you keep asking yourself why you're doing it. Yeah, it's not the end goal; it's the process. Yeah. I think once you've broken free of that idea of an end goal, you to stop expecting from it, but just to love the process.
That's so true.
That can help you get away from that comparisonitis problem.
Yeah, that's so true. Because you were talking to someone recently, weren't you, who were saying that they absolutely love the process. They love the detail and the intricacy of like making the beat and the synth and the hi-hats and whatever.
They're not doing it with
they get lost in it all.
Yeah, they're not doing it with an end goal. They didn't wake up this morning and go, I'm going to write a hits track.
I'm going to get 1 million streams
Yeah, I'm going to get 1 million. It's like,
and there are people that do wake up and do think like that and achieve that very successfully. And there's
maybe, but that's probably after they've loved the process for long enough.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
so,
true, yeah.
So it's like, especially when you're starting out, you got to love it. Yeah, so talking about timing and different platforms.
Timing, yes.
I think we get a little bit ahead of ourselves. We think artists are often going to be like, okay, VR, AR, metaverse, and Web3. And the reality is we're still trying to push, press and playlists. Right?
The thing is, we hear about Web3 all the time.
Right, and then next minute you go on, okay, this is where it's at. Let me go on Decentraland, set up a show because all the fans are going to be there. This is like really forward thinking. Yeah. You go there and there's 10 people walking around. And it's
you've tried this, haven't you?
It sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good. But the reality.
But reality hasn't caught up yet.
Yeah.
And I think we can often get caught in the razzle and dazzle of new things, shiny things. And there probably is going to be a huge place for them in the future, and it is happening in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
But we also have to be mindful of where the artists are at currently.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, even TikTok, we get a lot of artists saying, look, I'm not comfortable yet. I don't know what to do. I mean, it was 2023.
Yeah, we get so many artists that literally like they still don't feel they're like that TikTok thing, but it's vital. It's literally vital, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, timing. You're right. Timing is so important.
Yeah, I think not getting too ahead of ourselves. There's companies out there who goes, I'm all over metaverse, Web3. It's like, okay, have you been on there lately? Have you seen how big the audience is?
What is the Web 0.30?
Well, I think it's a combination of things, isn't it?
Right.
The blockchain, decentralized applications.
Yeah, NFTs.
NFTs.
Okay.
It's all happening.
Yeah.
But we need to do it in a way that is manageable for the artists and ways. And also it takes time to master things. If you haven't mastered like Spotify, Apple Music, playlisting, algorithmic, how are you going to master the metaverse overnight?
Yeah, that's so true. You're right, actually. I think that maybe in about 10 or 15 years, maybe 10 years, we'll be all over it. We will, everyone will. We'll have our own avatars.
Undoubtedly,
We'll have real estate that we've purchased. We'll have gig venues in the metaverse. But right now, I think we're still getting to grips with the likes of, like you say, some people are still getting to grips with the likes of Spotify and other DSPs and TikTok. So I think one thing at a time, right? I think take your time. I think pick one platform. Okay, so you might find that actually you prefer Instagram. That's okay. That's actually okay as an artist. Go all guns blazing on Instagram if that's where you're most authentic, where you create your most valued content, right? I mean, I'm the same. I'm pushing myself to go on TikTok, and I do it, and I do a post, but then I don't do another post for 2 weeks. Whereas on Instagram, I'm doing it all day, every day, even without a second thought. What sort of advice do you give to someone like that?
Yeah.
Do you think just stick with that platform then that you feel more comfortable with, or force yourself to get out?
Sure, I'd say obviously take on new platforms, because there is going to be this evergreen moment at the start where it's literally an opportunity to go viral. Like I remember when we first launched Spotify campaigns. Yeah. Every single campaign went viral.
Yeah.
Because it was the goal. It was easy. Yeah. There wasn't enough competition to push people out yet. And now, obviously, it's got so big, the competition, it's very difficult to go viral. So it's naturally, with every platform, there's a cycle, and you want to be early, because it's the biggest land grab at the beginning.
Yeah.
So I would say, get in early to any new platform, especially, so the ones that will allow you to connect with your fans. But I think jumping on something just because it's Web3, or just because it looks great to be doing that thing in front of other people right now, when the reality is maybe there's only 10 fans on there, then you might want to think again.
Threads,
Yeah.
Like everyone jumped on it. Like I jumped on it. I was like, oh my God, I've got to get on it. I was like, download, done, boom.
And I think
then tumbleweed.
And this goes back to this beginning about data, because once we've got you got clear data, you can make much better decisions as well.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like, where are you picking up the most engagement? Where are you picking up the most, and not get caught in all the razzle and dazzle of whatever it is that's going on. So
that's true. Yeah. And how do you think you pick up these random regional fans? Like, how does it happen? Like, I guess it could be through playlists, couldn't it? So if you're playlisted on, say on Spotify, for example, say you're playlisted and the fans of that playlist happen to be more segmented in a certain geographical area, I suppose that's where you'll pick up fans, won't you? Or if you create a reel on TikTok and you hashtag it, you might, connect with a bunch of people from there. You might find, so there's so many things you can do. It's so cool. It's so exciting. Yeah. I think I've definitely, I think in this episode, I think we've definitely learned that data is really important. I think if you're not sort of summarizing, shortlisting your data or where your fans lie, you need to get doing it. Okay. If some people don't even look at their Spotify for artists or their analytics on Instagram or anything. Get doing it now, right?
Yeah.
Really utilize it.
And there's plenty of apps out there that integrate onto these platforms that you can get insights from.
Yeah. Chart metrics.
If you're not comfortable with data, work with a manager who is.
Yeah.
Work with someone who is. And there's always people out there who have that knowledge and ability and passion for that kind of thing.
There is.
And they can advise you on where to do your next show. Hand it to them. Eventually we'll have AI doing it for us, but it's all coming down the pipe.
Yeah, so. And actually, you know what? Like the amount of people that contact us from like different industries, like, I don't know, accounting, financial services or whatever, there might be data analysts from the financial sector that are desperate to get into the music industry, and you could just reach out to them on LinkedIn and say, look, I need somebody to support me just with a few kind of like summaries of where my fans are sitting. They might jump at the chance of doing a bit of voluntary work for you if it allows them a little foothold in the music industry. There you go. See, that could be a nice little partnership that you can develop. So don't be afraid to reach out to people. Don't be afraid to look under the hood and see what's going on with your music. You might have a really nice surprise. You might see that you've got fans in places that you never dreamed of, okay? And you think that they're all localized to where you live. Go for it, I say. I think that's the sort of takeaway and summary for me, I think, is really look under the hood of all your info.
100%. Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode, and we will be back with episode 5, where we will do probably a bit of a deep dive into the world of streaming, AI, and probably sort of looking at bots and how to avoid botted streams and loads on that sort of subject. But we're going to really deep dive into playlisting and streaming and platforms and that kind of thing. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks.